Well, greetings and salutations, everyone. Welcome to tonight's middle of the night bonus upload. It is definitely a little on the unusual side for the channel, but still contains Dogman experiences, and we talk a little bit about some other things. Before we get into it, a couple links. As you know, I rely on Patreon, PayPal, channel membership, and the merch to help the channel to continue to grow and go. Links to Patreon, PayPal, and channel membership is in the description below, the merch displayed directly under the video. Also, Dogman Frightening Encounters, Volume 1 through 3, the audiobook versions. They were written and researched by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeff Nadolny. Those audiobooks are available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes, links to which are also in the description as well. And finally, last but definitely not least, if you'd really like to help support this channel to continue to grow and go, simply subscribe. It does not cost a cent. Click that like button, takes half a second. If you don't want to miss out on any of the informative uploads I put out daily, click that bell icon, and folks, please leave a comment. Why? Well, because all these things, they really do help this channel to continue to grow and go, and yes, folks, they definitely matter. Now, everyone, I have taken far too much of your time. Let's jump into this middle of the night bonus upload. Shall we? All right, everybody. Tonight's upload is, well, it's going to be something very different, but very similar to what we discuss usually on the second half. Now, a lot of people I've seen in the comment sections refer to the influx of Dogman, Bigfoot, Pale Demon / Crawler encounters as the end of times. I am not going to proclaim I know anything about the Bible. I was raised Roman Catholic. I was confirmed, and then I pretty much stopped going to church. That was my parents, get confirmed and you're done. And I said, okay. Well, then I started to learn about my other side of the family's heritage, my Native American heritage, and, just periodically through life, learning a little bit about the Bible, what it says, and just other things. Now, I do know that with the Great Flood, that was supposed to wipe out the wicked and just take away all of the bad. I believe it's the book of Enoch that differs from the Bible, where it then says the flood was used to wipe out the Nephilim, the fallen angels, watchers, what have you. And obviously the fallen angels are different than the Nephilim. The Nephilim are their children. I'm starting to agree with the folks that are saying, hey, this may be the end of times, because things are getting really strange. But I don't think that it's going to end in a kind of a fire catastrophe. I think God may purge us with another great flood. Now, I have talked about how I have ideas or theories that, the government is using HARP to control the weather patterns down south, Virginia and such. And it was really strange that occurred in those locations where these pale demons, dogmen,
disappearances occurred. But experts are now saying that we are in definite time for another major flood. A disastrous mega flood is coming to California, experts say. And it could be the most expensive natural disaster in history, according to CNN. Now, NBC titles it differently. You know, CNN being the Democrat or left kind of news. NBC calls it climate change is increasing. Now, that crap has happened. Climate change has occurred naturally forever. The earth produces more pollution than the human population could. It's designed that way. The earth is designed to pollute itself to continue to make life livable. And I think that, you know, this climate change, I don't think it's BS. Yeah, I think it's happening. You know, there's an ice age every 10,000 years. But getting away from scientific fact, with these experiences and these encounters and these monsters getting more kind of deadly, less caring, whatnot, and I think this may be, you know, what people are saying, the end of times, because this is insane. Climate change is increasing the chances of California's mega flood. Experts warn a new study says climate change has doubled the chances for a major devastating flood in California in the next 4 decades. So in 40 years, California may be underwater. If that's the case, why would it stop just there? You know, it makes absolutely no sense. But this is one of the news articles. As California grapples with the spread of wildfires and severe drought, the threat of flooding may seem like an unlikely cause for concern. However, a new study warns that the state could be hit by a mega flood in the not too distant future, potentially putting millions across the state at risk. The study, published Friday in the Journal of Science Advances, found that climate change has already doubled the chances of this event capable of producing catastrophic flooding in California within the next 4 decades. The study acknowledges that the state is more accustomed to water scarcity than abundance in the modern era, with California experiencing 2 historical severe droughts between 2012 and 2021. However, it said historical and paleoclimate evidence suggests the state is also subject to episodes of increased rainfall, with climate change potentially expediting the possibility of a major storm in the future. The state has seen extreme precipitation and severe subregional flooding events in a number of times during the 20th century, including 69, 86, 97. The study notes, but while those incidents hint at a latent potential of a future major flood, none have revealed the benchmark of a great flood of 1861 to 1862. That event, it noted, was characterized by week-long winter storms that produced widespread catastrophic flooding across virtually all of California's lowland, transforming the interior Sacramento and San Joaquin valleys into a temporary but vast inland sea, nearly 300 miles in length. The impacts of the Great Flood helped spur ARK Storm, a 2010 California statewide disaster scenario led by the U.S. Geological Survey, the study said. It said that subsequent analysis suggests that such an event would likely produce widespread catastrophic flooding, potentially leading to the displacement of millions of people, the long-term closure of key transportation corridors, and ultimately to nearly $1 trillion overall in losses. Resources behind this study said their findings demonstrate that the climate change is robustly increasing both the frequency and magnitude of extremely severe storm sequences capable of causing mega flood events in California, making such an event more likely. Our analysis suggests that the present-day circa 2022 likelihood of historically rare to unprecedented 30-day precipitation accumulations has already increased substantially, and that even modest additional increments of global warming will bring even a larger increase in likelihood. Despite the grim outlook, the study said there are measures California could take to mitigate the harm of this 20th century mega flood. Among those possible solutions are floodplain restoration and levee setbacks, which would lessen flood risk in urban areas, it said. It further said emergency evacuation and contingency plans could be updated to accommodate the possibility of transportation distribution extending far beyond that which has occurred in the past century. So maybe this is biblical. Maybe it is. I don't know. And I'll never, ever proclaim that I know anything that I don't. Am I shooting theory out? Sure. I'm shooting theory out of something that I heard and have looked into a little bit. I believe that the influx of these cryptids and the just evil that is running rampant on this earth, that we may be in for a large cleansing of that sort. You know, who knows? Maybe it wasn't HARP controlling these weather patterns in Virginia, Kentucky areas. Maybe it was the good man upstairs, you know. I don't know. And I know people are gonna, 100% say yes or no or whatever. But do we really know? Because religion is just a faith in something that we believe in. And I'm not a doubting Thomas. I do believe there is some sort of greater power out there. But this just, to me, it's starting to make a little sense, and I don't like to admit that, because I never once ever thought of cryptids being religious, or not religious, but I hate bringing religion into cryptid talks, but we may have to now. We don't know. There's just too much going on to not look at it. It's insane. But with that, I'm going to share a couple of encounters and leave this information in your hands. And you come up with your own theories, your own beliefs. I've just shared mine with you. Tonight's first encounter. I went on holiday to South Wales with my fiance and some friends, specifically to a tiny village called Carway, We stayed in a little terraced Airbnb house, which was like stepping back into the 40s. When we arrived, we straight away explored the house and garden. The garden was narrow but super long. There was a patio and a plain lawn section that was maybe 30 meters long, and then it turned into basically woodland while still having garden fences on either side, thick trees, and very dense overgrowth, filled with bramble bushes and remnants of old compost heaps, ferns, and uneven ground, which stretched for goodness knows how far, as we couldn't get through very far, but further than we could see. Actually, from Google Maps, it looks like this part was about 100 meters long and stretching behind the back gardens of several homes. Behind this, the garden backed onto a small area of national parkland. Every night we would hear some wild, weird bird, we assumed, noise from the bottom of the garden, a bird that would make these loud shrieks and whoops. At first I thought it was a screech owl, but actually I don't think any owls make those sounds. But we were sure it must be a bird. But a really weird thing started happening a couple of nights into the trip. My friend took his husky out into the garden at about midnight for the last bathroom break before bed, and was outside for a couple of minutes before he came running in going, "Do you hear that noise?" We heard the weird owl sound, but we were a bit tipsy and had the music on, and apart from that we couldn't hear anything, so we didn't pay him much attention. The next night, however, my fiance went outside with my friend and the dog at about the same time of night, and they were standing around in the garden, smoking and chatting and letting the dog sniff around the brush. Suddenly they hear a rustling that was very loud, deep growling sound coming from the bushes. My friend and my fiance, who in the 10 years I've known him has honestly never once admitted to being scared about anything, even when he nearly died on a mountain while skiing, they were instantly terrified. They stood and listened to it for a few more seconds while the dog ran back up to the garden and asked to be let back into the home. Great guard dog he is, before legging it back inside. Both of them heard the noise a couple more times over the week and said it was honestly terrifying and they had no idea what it could be. They absolutely would not lie, and I've honestly never seen my fiance genuinely scared of anything in this way before. It often came at the same time as the noise we thought was a bird, but they said this sound was definitely not a bird noise. After they told me about it, I went out into the garden for the last couple of nights, and despite being super creeped out, I did not hear a thing. My mind jumped straight away to a Bigfoot or Dogman, but I am not sure if either are in Wales. Well, yes, they are, my friend. They are, unfortunately. Or Dogman is, and probably crawlers, too. Tonight's final encounter. I live in a rural part of Donegal, Ireland, and my family are very superstitious, with quite a few connections with local paranormal and cryptid folklore. There are many experiences with the same creature, and myself and a few trusted friends are working on getting video evidence of its existence. This thing didn't look like any other creature we've seen online. My first encounter starts on a cold January evening. I'd recently stopped seeing a girl, so I had some extra free time. I decided that day to meet up with an old friend of mine. We'll call him Jay. We'd been sitting in his house talking when we started to talk about what we used to do when we were younger. I was 19, nearly 20 at the time. He had just turned 18. When we were around 13 and 14, we used to spend our entire summers camping and exploring a forest not far from both of our homes. The forest was not big compared to some of the massive forests in America or continental Europe, but for our little country, it's one of the biggest and oldest. It was mostly old oak with some areas of evergreen trees and then areas of thick brush, which not many people had explored to the extent myself and my friend had. We'd often come across strange things in that forest, dead animals ripped apart, even a dead cow, but never thought much of it, just writing it off to fox and stray dogs. We'd gotten bored of sitting in the house that night and decided to go up to the forest for nostalgia's sake. Now, at this time of the year, it gets dark at around 5, and this was around 9:30, so it was pitch dark. We drove to the mouth of the forest and parked the car. We started our walk in. We had a particular spot in mind, a few hundred meters into the forest, where he and I used to sneak to when we were younger to hide the fact that we were smoking from our parents. To most people, the forest was haunting during the day, never mind at night. But from all the time we had spent here in our youth, there was honestly a homely feeling to it. About 20 minutes of walking, and we're at our old spot. Memories of our youth started flooding back as we stood there smoking cigarettes, joking and laughing. About a half an hour passes, and the usual notice of leaves blowing in the wind had started to hush, and the crickets had gone quiet. The moon had become more obscured by the trees, bar a few spots more illuminated than others through the canopy. At first, I thought I could hear footprints or see the odd silhouette in the distance, but put it down as just my mind playing tricks on me. Then came the sound, the unmistakable crack of a branch breaking. It was a bit away from us, but it echoed through the forest with purpose. Then came another, almost intentional. Soon more followed. Gaining pace, each sounded closer together. Then it happened. A younger tree, maybe 15 feet tall, but still had quite a thin trunk, maybe 20 meters away from us, just pushed to the ground. I caught my first glimpse of it then. There it was, maybe 20 meters away from us, on all fours, and it looked to be 4 to 5 feet tall at the haunches, with piercing red eyes. It rose to its hind legs, and it was huge. I'm 6 foot, and my friend is slightly taller than me. And we both played rugby, so we are not small guys, but this thing dwarfed us. It was staring right at us, waiting for us to move. We started pacing back, keeping an eye contact with this creature. It started walking towards an old tree and outstretched one of its lanky arms, and within seconds, it was in the highest reaches of the tree, its burning eyes still staring at us. We started to run to the car, and we could hear the creature coming through the trees above us. We burst out of the forest and got into the car as fast as we could. I turned on the lights, illuminated the forest in front of us. There they were, those glowing red eyes, about 15 meters into the tree line. The creature dropped out of the tree and stood on its hind legs again. The lights gave us a better look at it. It had long, shiny black nose, and it must have been between 8 to 9 feet tall. It was covered in black, wiry fur. It had lanky arms with long fingertips. It bore its white teeth and began walking into the forest on its hind legs. The weirdest thing is both me and my friend felt some sort of connection to this creature, as both of us did.
All right, folks, I hope you all enjoyed this bonus upload as much as I enjoyed sharing it with you all. I'd like to thank you all for supporting the channel. After all, your support is what makes this channel special and what continues to make it grow and go. Please stay safe, happy, healthy, and ever vigilant, keeping an eye on our children, our pets, our family, and friends. These creatures are real, they're out there, and they are dangerous. Share this information with those people, and it may just help save their lives someday. Until next time, never stop asking questions, and never stop looking for answers.